All right, I want to share some thoughts on judging. And so the first thing to note is judging is just taking a thing or person and comparing that thing or person with a standard. So that's why the classic judge balance is looks like this. You've got a thing on one side and you're going to weigh it against the standard. And in the standard role of or standard day of life, what we would go through is the temptation to be judgmental and see us in two different ways. I think both of these can happen. If it's on a good day, we're going to see ourselves as separate from our actions, and maybe we'll have a little more certainty about things than we actually have. But we on bad days we kind of mix this person, who we are, with our behavior and our beliefs, and we start to really intermingle those. Um, and in some cases, that could mean if you've done something wrong and it makes you feel terrible, you're going to start thinking I'm a nobody, or who would like me, that kind of thing. And we might view others similarly in the sense that we're going to mix this concept of who they are as a person with what their behaviors and actions and beliefs are. And that can lead to a lot of judgment. So essentially labeling them with a really, um, you know, really strong category that essentially makes it easy in our mind to process who they are, and essentially puts them on a team. And that team may not be, it's either the same team we're on or it's a different team. And I just wanted to point out these principles of um, when we're in this kind of judgmental state, we tend to hold our convictions, and we also compare others against those convictions. And if they don't measure up, we think to ourselves, well, clearly I'm the one who's right and they're the one who needs to change, and they're not living up to the standard. The other thing is that when we get really judgmental, we put them on a team assignment. So they're either on the same team we're on, or they're not. And if they're not on our team, then they're, probably not a good person either. So that tends to be the temptation. And the interesting thing is, so in what Jesus taught is, judge not that you be not judged. And the idea is that we are supposed to separate the individual and their worth as an individual from their actions, behaviors, and beliefs. And because those change, what doesn't change is the fact that they are human, that they are children of God. They have infinite worth, and no matter who they are, what they do, or what they believe, that doesn't change. And that's an amazing identity. That's why I think that religion and Christianity, and in particular, have an effective way of both catalyzing a powerful, unique identity, in the sense that if someone is a child of God, they are of infinite worth as an individual, and they are also recognized as similar to and on the same plane as everybody else. So, child of God, we're all brothers and sisters in that sense. So, when we look at ourselves that way, it helps us understand the difference between a wrong act that we may, feel ashamed by, but we can remind ourselves that, that's not living up to my full potential, and I can do better, and will do better. And same with others. So we want to keep this concept of who they are as a person really high. So highly valued. I think it'd be very dangerous to, and I think this played out in history. It's very dangerous to strip someone of their human identity. I think that's led to the vast majority of the tragedies of the past. And so, when we have this shared identity of children of God, it puts us all in the same plane, and it also puts us on a very uh, high potential, infinite potential. And we can then separate their actions or others' actions and their beliefs from who they are, and we can learn from them. So you might say, well, how do we judge? How do we not judge, but also make proper judgments about things? And I think of it in these terms. So we can look at somebody's actions as separate from their identity and their permanent uh, status as a human, as someone who's worthy of love. Um, so we can put their actions on kind of a separate. We make a nice border between those two concepts, and think of their actions in isolation, and say to ourselves, are those actions the kinds of things I want to emulate, or perhaps not? And that is healthy, because then it puts the onus on us. We're trying to judge for ourselves what makes sense in our own life, and it's therefore effective, and it gives us some learning from that, while maintaining their status as human, as worthy of love, as a child of God. So these are just some thoughts. I think, recognizing ourselves as having infinite worth, and making sure that we think about our own standards and strive to live up to them first before we impose a standard on others, especially if it's one that we're not meeting as well. And being patient with them when, even if we have achieved that standard, being patient with others, and understanding that everybody's on a different journey and is experiencing different things. So it makes sense to learn from others' actions, of course, but in terms of judgment, the judgment is truly up to the Lord, which means it's not up to us to judge the worth of an individual. Uh, our commandment is to love our neighbors as ourselves. So that's just some thoughts on judgment, and thanks.